Okay, so as I said, we will be talking about Microsoft Dynamics GP end of life announcement. We know that many of you have a lot of questions. So today in our agenda here, we'll be talking about that announcement with Cecilia Flambaum from Microsoft. We'll be talking about fixed and modern lifecycle with Michael Kidder from Velosio. We'll talk about, he'll continue to talk about your options moving forward, some budgeting tips and tricks, and our exclusive ClearPath migration consultation. Now, to introduce our presenters today, I'd like to say hello to our first presenter, Cecilia Flambaum from Microsoft. Cecilia has been at Microsoft for over 23 years and is a senior director of scale growth business applications. Thank you for being here today, Cecilia. We really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure to spend some time with you. Yes, I'm in the CTO Office of Business Applications and I have the pleasure of working with Velosio a lot. So happy to be with you today.
Yes. So I am going to leave it with you from here. Thanks so much.
Excellent. Well, yes, just as we just heard, we just made this big announcement of end of support for Dynamics GP for 2029, September 2029, with the last bit of security patches coming in 2031. This is a big announcement that actually fills our hearts with love for the loyalty that the Dynamics GP and Great Plains before customers have shown to this amazing product, creating a super strong community that we truly admire and appreciate. And it's time for us to really focus all our energy in the next generation of applications. And for that, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central is our flagship ERP product for small and mid-sized businesses. It really covers all the core components for business management for a mid-sized business. It's been named the best ERP system of the year by Forbes, and I promise we did not lobby for that. This came even as a surprise to us in 2023 and 2024, and we're very proud of that. And we just surpassed the 40,000 customer mark, which makes us so proud of this amazing product. It's a very high growth product for us. It's taking so much energy out of our entire engineering team. We are very proud of the progress that Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central has made. And we hope you're going to join us in this journey that we're going to go in together. So let's go to the next slide. I really wanted to give you a view of where our energy is going with Microsoft 365. I keep saying Microsoft 365 with Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. We are really focusing on giving our customers three pillars of value: the ability to adapt faster to changes, to growth, to requirements, and a system that will adapt and grow with you. The system will always be flexible and adaptable and extensible to match your needs. Are spending a lot of our energy in helping you work smarter. This is the pillar that is concentrating all artificial intelligence investments that are coming into Business Central, really changing the product from within, the solution from within. And it all comes back to you in really working smarter, spending less time doing repetitive and routine things that can be assisted and supported with Copilot and artificial intelligence. So that's our second. And our third one is obviously performance of the system, performance of the application, and last but not least, security of the application. So just this morning, we've announced a number of improvements and innovations around performance and data. So I encourage you to keep up with our innovations around Business Central because they're coming really fast. And yes, I wanted to leave you with this message about security, reliability, privacy. In Microsoft, we take this very, very seriously. Business Central runs on Azure. Azure is the most scalable platform in the planet with a promise of security, of compliance, and a promise that the data is always your data, especially as we innovate on artificial intelligence and we deploy these large language models in our products. We will keep our promise that your data as a customer is always your data. We have decades to prove it, and that is an underlying promise around Business Central, and important as you consider this transition of going from an on-premise system to a cloud system and putting the security trust of your system in a vendor like us. We take that extremely serious, and it's a factor that I think you have to consider as you plan for this transition to the cloud. So thank you so much. And I am, like I said, extremely close to Velosio. I am the executive sponsor for Velosio myself, and I spend a lot of time with the Velosio team. And I hope you're going to join us and them in your transition to the cloud.
Thanks so much, Cecilia. We really appreciate having you here and talking a little bit about what Microsoft's vision for the future is, because I know how hard of a decision it must have been to move off of Dynamics GP and really start that sunsetting and end of life process. And it's just really glad to hear all of the innovation that is going into these incredible cloud products. So thank you, Cecilia, for being here today. I am going to bring on our next presenter from Velosio, Michael Kidder, Senior Account Executive in our SMB space here at Velosio. Thanks, Michael, for being here with us today. And we'll start diving into a little bit about Dynamics GP, as many of you that are joining this call are really on GP and talking about the fixed lifecycle versions, modern lifecycle versions, and all of your next steps and possibilities.
Thank you so much, Michael, and great to be here. Excited to talk about what the future holds for GP and the great community that uses it. I am speaking to you today from Nashville, Tennessee. And while we're known for maybe music and some other of the entertainment components of the town, it's got a very strong manufacturing and logistics background here. And one of the things I've done in my 12, 13-year career in the Microsoft space is guide GP customers through updates and revisions with that core product, as well as customers through the journey of moving to the cloud with Business Central or other modern ERP solutions as they've grown and shaped their company. So today, to start the conversation, I want to kind of talk about fixed lifecycle versus modern lifecycle product. And that's a delineation that Microsoft made several years ago. Functionally, it indicates what type of license and subsequently what type of support that you have. So in the fixed lifecycle version, and again, we may have some folks on that type today, you can kind of see the information here in terms of, hey, how long are the updates? What are the critical dates in time that we need to be cognizant of as we consider, how we're going to sunset our organization out of the product and consider what our options are going to be. Depending on the version that you're on, and seeing this on screen, that will give you some indication of what your timeline is. If you're on 2013, that's kind of come and gone. If you're on a 2018 fixed version, there are some of the dates and again, some of the announcements in terms of extended support and mainstream support. To define fixed lifecycle, what we want to talk about is mainstream support versus extended support. And while it's defined here, the main components to understand our mainstream support is really consistent updates, performance improvements, some additional things that Microsoft might add to the system at customer request. And those are all taken through the dates that were on that previous slide. And again, that information is published in the Microsoft support space out on their main website. Extended support are the things that you see there, meaning it's not going to be any kind of enhancements to the system. It's just what they would call bare bones security and performance updates, and it wouldn't support any kind of customizations. The really important call out with fixed lifecycle support is you must have a paid support agreement in place to be able to receive those. So if you're not going to be paying for paid support, you won't have that extended timeline that was on the previous screen. Your support would end at the mainstream support date. So it's important that if you're deciding to keep the product into where that extended support window is called out, that you're actually a paying support customer on the product with Microsoft. It's an important note. The other component have, and again, we see the two different styles or policies in terms of the type of licensing and product that you have would be modern lifecycle. And this is where you've got the old term would be kind of that perpetual license model where you get the updates and everything is there. In that sense, you can kind of see guided here, depending on the version and where you're willing to step up in the cycle. This is where your end of life, end of type of matrices are. And again, there's even some product here. We're calling it GPVX. Microsoft hasn't even named that. The main component will not expire until late into 2029 with extended features and things past that. The big component that's created a lot of buzz and that many of you are here today is, what do we do? What are my options, Michael? And so, we're here to tell you that, GP has been a great product. It's very stable. A lot of customers rely on that. And at Velosio, we're going to continue to support that. And we want to support. You're going to run that, till late into 2029 at the end of the time frame, or whether you really want to consider moving to the cloud now. We as an organization are going to have customers doing both. And so we want to present you with the options. Staying put is certainly one of those. We're going to continue to support our customers that system, a deep business context and use case for it. And again, that's a viable option, especially in the near term, to be able to say, hey, we're not ready to make a decision, but we want to make sure we're with a partner that can continue to support us. We want to continue to do that. One of the things we want to talk about today as we move through this conversation is considering your options. So if your organization is saying, hey, now that we're aware this is a real end of life, what are our options and when would it make sense to actually consider and make a move? And there may be other folks here today that are going, hey, we've known this is coming. Now that they've officially announced the date, we're ready to move. What does that look like? Help guide us through that journey, right? And again, the big component from your decision is you've got options, right? So let's examine, first of all, if you're thinking today, what are my options if I just decide I want to stay status quo, stay put today, components and things that I need to consider over the next few years as we look at the timelines that Microsoft has put forward. Again, if you're on a fixed component, you're going to want to make sure you have an updated support agreement. If you've got the modern version, they're going to continue to provide that support and upgrade path as long as you're consistent with the product. And again, for the most part, if you've got a pretty stable environment and good use case for the system, that shouldn't cost you anything past where you are today. You do have the component of possibly saying, hey, I have a premise application instance. What would that look like to put it into a hosted environment? And so I keep my core product, but maybe I move that into an environment where I'm going to move it to the cloud, but in an instance where, now it's consideration for my on-prem environment, but rather I'm moving it, but keeping the functionality and the feature set there. Same kind of conversation. You're looking at maybe moving to an Azure cost matrices, and we can help define that and what that would look like. And again, from a support standpoint, it's also the same considerations to say, hey, now that this is maybe out of my data center and in a place where it's not something that I maintained, or maybe I am making some updates and application enhancements to get it to the cloud based on the rest of my architecture and infrastructure. There may be some components that you need to plan on from a support standpoint. And Velosio is here to say, hey, we want to help define, what that move would look like, help you get there if you want to keep that instance, and then also provide support on an ongoing basis. If you're considering options, you say, hey, I now know that it's going to be end of life. I've got those dates clearly defined. We don't want to put off at least evaluating what our options are. Here's some things to consider. And I think the big one is to say there are lots of different options, right? And one of the things, if you look at the right of the screen, there's zero cost, right? I think being able to evaluate what your use case and the customer fit for the product today versus the product you might need to move to, the time has never been better to investigate that, because there's so much more tooling and so many more opportunities to investigate your use case than there were even 2 or 3 years ago. So it is really a great time to kind of evaluate, what your business needs from an outcome standpoint, and start to understand the path that would get you there, right? It doesn't mean you have to decide to do that today. It just means you're starting to investigate it today. And I think the 3 components that you're seeing on screen, as far as, hey, what's the right product? Help us understand the cost. And then let's look at the peripheral components on the edges of the system to make sure we've got a clear understanding of everything we would need to make a move. And again, Velosio is more than equipped to look at both the core system, understand, the components of cost that would go into that, as well as look at some other options that might be a little bit outside of the, GP or Business Central kind of environment, to say, what are some other things that might be in play that we need to consider from a product standpoint. And that would include, I'll add, it's not exactly spelled out there, but there are a lot of, peripheral systems that accomplish edges to the system that you might also want to look at in the IVR community. And then, for those of you on the phone today that are aware, knew this was coming, and are ready to kind of look at the move, again, some of the things we talked about in the last slide, but certainly here, we're moving a number of customers on a monthly basis from, these kinds of legacy on-prem systems, whether they be classical Microsoft products or, other smaller ERPs, into a modern cloud environment, whether that be Business Central or Finance and Supply Chain or other products that sit in the marketplace. And again, the most important considerations are you always want to make sure when you're going to make a move that it's the right product for your organization. You want to understand the clear distinction between your options and feel like you're getting a good, clear understanding of how that's going to impact the organization long term. And that's going to be obviously budget, how you're going to get, from A to B in a life cycle. And obviously that's going to include the data and funding the entire project. Again, we've got a lot of tools with our ClearPath discovery that we'll talk about in a little bit that I think help lead to a really outlined plan of how that would look, what those considerations would need to be as far as the product, and what the line to determine when you would make that move would be. Ready to talk about it when you are, right? So what are the big things in terms of, hey, I've heard all this, I kind of know which bucket that I'm in. What are some other things that I might want to consider as we're evaluating where we even begin to start the conversation? I think one of the interesting things for a lot of people on the call today is going to be that, and we had Microsoft on the phone, looking at the investment that they've put into, their modern ERP products. They are ready and willing to incentivize customers to help get them there sooner, right? There's a number of different programs that Microsoft, usually pushes in their first fiscal beginning of the year. And certainly right now, if you look at their ERP funding, there are a variety of different options to help customers do this migration now from the standpoint of Microsoft funding. As a Microsoft partner, we help kind of gather that information, communicate that with our customers, and kind of see what options are available from a funding and incentive standpoint. And certainly that's part of kind of the ClearPath program that we'll talk about in a few more moments. One of the big things, obviously, and if you've done an ERP migration in the past, there are probably some folks smiling. You always have to be prepared for cost overruns, right? You have to look at what the true cost is. And anytime you're doing something as important as an ERP move, you have to recognize that there are obviously risks, and those risks will include, the cost and how that will affect the organization on a go forward basis. I think one of the clear, considerations when we look at successful projects and projects that meet budget is to say the type of partner that you choose and the type of product fit as you evaluate the different things are one of the most important indicators as to whether you'll hit the cost assumptions at the beginning and arrive at the same place at the end. So we always want to say, hey, evaluate, investigate, do due diligence, and always work to find a partner who's going to be able to provide insight. You don't want to rely upon someone and it's the first time they've moved someone on this product to recognize that that could be a risk. And again, I think evaluating your options at the beginning and doing that sooner rather than later starts to give some clarity what that cost might be, and then allows you to prepare at the C-suite level for that change and when that will need to occur. The common mistakes that we see, and I've alluded to some of these, the biggest one is not having someone who's kind of been there, done that, but also either taking too long or taking too short a time, rushing the process. But I also see it in the space of we feel like we've got a lot of time. You run over deadlines and stretch the process out and end up having to repeat, training, implementation, and those sorts of things. So finding someone that can partner with the organization to do it in a timely manner that's appropriate for your organization to absorb that change management, I think, is a key element. Obviously, understanding, the dependencies, both from a people and also a technology standpoint, I think is a key one as we look at the list here. And again, indirect cost, I think, are always, the unknown. I think looking at who the people that will be involved, what their time commitments will be in a massive change like that, as well as the other peripheral technologies, and possibly even, customers and vendors and other components of your business that are outside of the business is an important consideration. When we talk about how do we evaluate all this, I think one of the programs that Velosio has spent a lot of time, certainly in identifying how we can help educate and guide customers through this process, has been our ClearPath consultation component. And what we've really tried to build is really a tool that helps organizations and customers understand their current needs from what they're utilizing, as well as what might that future state want or need to look like, and then evaluating the current option, again, looking at all the risks and movements associated with that, and as moving through the process, as I alluded to earlier, unlocking those funding opportunities through the various components of the vendor community, specifically Microsoft, but other opportunities, possibly in Azure and other things like that. A lot of different components to saying, hey, if we stay on GP, what are some options? If we're ready to make a move to the cloud, what are the options there? We've really tried to build this, again, technology agnostic, to just look at your scenario, understand the implications, present some pathways, and then have you evaluate those internally. If you're interested in that and want to know more, again, my name's Michael. Welcome to email me. We'll put you in contact with someone in our account executive team, as well as you can get information directly from the email that you see Insider at Velosio, and get both information on our website, as well as maybe get signed up to make the first step in understanding what that could look like and how it could impact your organization. Otherwise, I want to thank you for your time. It's been great. Hopefully this has been informative, and we look forward to continued success in the Microsoft ecosystem and in your business community. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Michael. Our ClearPath consultations are free, no commitment, and just here to help have that conversation and get you ready for the next 5 years. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here today. We'll see y'all next time.